We're on Vasilievsky Island, which is the largest island in St. Petersburg. Behind me you can see the Neva River, the Winter Palace, which contains the Hermitage Museum, and a number of ships from the Russian Navy. 3 days from now is the Russian Navy Day, where in all the port cities of Russia, naval ships do a parade and people come out to enjoy looking at the ships and talking with soldiers. Behind me is the Peter and Paul Fortress, which was the first structure built in St. Petersburg by Peter the Great. At some point in the future, he decided that the Vasilievsky Island, which is the largest island in St. Petersburg, should be the commercial and residential center of the city. Behind me is the former stock exchange of St. Petersburg. It was later converted into the Naval Museum, and the warehouses on the right and left of the building later became the Zoological Museum and the Geological Museum. Behind the old stock exchange building is the University of St. Petersburg. This park at the point of Vasilievsky Island has two rostral columns. Rostrum is the ancient Latin word for the prow of a ship, and the Romans would build columns in this fashion to commemorate their naval battles. Peter the Great commissioned these columns to commemorate his victories over the Swedes, which resulted in his capture of St. Petersburg. These columns once served as lighthouses to guide ships safely to the port, and the torches at the top of the columns are still used on holidays. The two rostral columns are decorated with many beautiful sculptures. On the columns are sculptures of ships, and the prows of the ships have sculptures of mermaids and dragons. And at the base of the columns are big, beautiful statues. Each column has two statues, so there's 4 statues in total. And these 4 statues represent the 4 great rivers of Russia. These are the Neva River, which is in St. Petersburg, the Volga River, the Volkhov River, and the Dnieper River. This is a statue of Mikhail Lomonosov, who was Russia's greatest Renaissance man. He was born to a peasant family in a small village near Arkhangelsk in the far north of Russia, and he walked all the way to Moscow in order to study. He was great at science, math, chemistry, physics, poetry, art, and some people say that he himself was Russia's first university. This very long red and white building was built by Peter the Great to be the headquarters of the 12 ministries of the government that he established. Now it's used as the biology department of the University of St. Petersburg. The blue and white building behind me is the Kunstkamera, presently the Zoological Museum of the Russian Federation. It was established by Peter the Great in order to raise the education level of the average Russian, and it was free. It contained oddities and rare items from all over the world. Although it was free, most Russians weren't interested in going to the museum, so a legend has it that Peter the Great offered free vodka at the entrance to anyone who would attend. Still, a lot of people just took the vodka and didn't enter the museum, so he moved the vodka to the back of the museum, and you had to go through the whole museum to get the free vodka. Now it's a very popular museum, and you can see there's a huge line stretching out almost all the way to the street. So it's very popular with children and families because of all the interesting animals that it has in the museum. This green and white building is the former palace of Peter II, Peter the Great's nephew, and now it is the Faculty of Philology and Oriental Studies of the University of St. Petersburg. The yellow building behind me is the former palace of Alexander Menshikov. Alexander Menshikov was a childhood friend of Peter the Great. He was from an average family. He didn't have any noble ancestors, but Peter the Great believed in his talents, and he eventually made Alexander Menshikov the first governor of St. Petersburg. He had very extravagant tastes, and the interior of this palace is decorated in a beautiful Baroque style, and now this palace is a part of the Hermitage Museum. Peter the Great spent many years traveling around Europe, and he lived in Amsterdam for a time. His plan for Vasilievsky Island was for the island to have many long, straight canals that would enable easy transportation throughout the island. However, due to the freezing water during the winter and lots of snow during the winter, the canals weren't as useful as Peter the Great intended. Only a few canals were dug, and in the time of Catherine the Great, the canals were filled back in. So now Vasilievsky Island only has normal streets. This building is the Russian Mining Institute, which is a very prestigious university for mining engineering and geological engineering. At this very moment, the Russian-African Summit is being held inside, and that's why you see the building decorated with the flags of the various nations that are attending the summit. All these buildings used to be factories during the Soviet Union, but when the economy became less industrial, they were abandoned, and in recent years they were converted into spaces for stores, restaurants, art exhibitions, and one of these factories is even used for rock concerts. They have interesting sculptures such as this sculpture of a scooter, or a samokhat as they're called in Russian. On the top floor of this former factory is a manga art exhibition. This mural, painted in a manga style, depicts the famous writers of Russian literature riding the subway. On the right is Tolstoy, next to him is Pushkin. In the middle is Dostoevsky, and somewhere is Gogol and Chekhov. This complex has 4 massive iron doors. I don't know if they were part of the original factory or if they were added in recent times. It's been a pleasure for us to show you all the interesting places in this beautiful city. But this isn't our last journey, so be ready for more adventures and magnificent sights. Thank you for watching, and see you later.